Ultra-processed foods are often discussed in terms of weight gain, diabetes, and heart disease, but their impact on cognitive health may be even more alarming, yet far less recognized. Emerging research now shows that diets high in ultra-processed foods are linked not only to faster cognitive decline, but to structural and functional changes in the brain that undermine memory, learning, emotional regulation, and long-term neurological resilience. For middle-aged and older adults especially, this connection represents a far more serious threat than most people realize. What looks like harmless convenience eating can, over time, accelerate brain aging, compromise cognitive function, and increase vulnerability to neurodegenerative diseases. In midlife, the brain is already undergoing gradual changes. Neuronal communication slows slightly, oxidative stress rises, and the brain becomes more sensitive to inflammation and metabolic instability. Ultra-processed diets amplify each of these vulnerabilities. Their high levels of refined sugars, industrial fats, and chemical additives generate chronic low-grade inflammation that reaches the brain through the bloodstream. This inflammatory state is strongly associated with damage to the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory formation and emotional processing. Studies in middle-aged adults show that individuals consuming the most ultra-processed foods perform worse on memory tests, executive function tasks, and measures of processing speed, even when weight is controlled for. These cognitive shifts may seem subtle at first, forgetting appointments, struggling to focus, or finding multitasking harder. But they are early warning signs of deeper structural decline already underway. One of the most concerning mechanisms involves insulin resistance. The brain depends heavily on glucose for fuel, and insulin plays a role in how neurons communicate and maintain their energy supply. Diets dominated by ultra-processed foods increase insulin resistance throughout the body, including in the brain. When neurons become less responsive to insulin, their ability to function deteriorates. This phenomenon, sometimes called type 3 diabetes, has been linked to accelerated brain aging and higher risk of Alzheimer's disease. Middle-aged adults who eat a steady diet of sugary drinks, processed snacks, ready-made meals, and refined carbohydrates may unknowingly impair their brain's ability to metabolize energy long before cognitive symptoms emerge. For older adults, the danger deepens dramatically. Aging brains are already more vulnerable to oxidative stress, inflammation, and reductions in neuroplasticity. Ultra-processed foods intensify all three. In older adults, high intake of these foods has been associated with faster decline in global cognition, greater difficulty learning new information, and more pronounced memory impairment. Some longitudinal studies report a significantly higher risk of dementia among individuals consuming the most ultra-processed foods, even after adjusting for factors like education, physical activity, and overall calorie intake. Another mechanism involves the gut-brain axis, a communication pathway between gut bacteria and the central nervous system. Ultra-processed foods weaken this system by reducing microbial diversity and feeding harmful bacteria associated with inflammation and neurotoxicity. These changes can influence mood, memory, and cognitive performance through inflammatory and hormonal pathways. Many older adults who consume processed foods daily may attribute brain fog, mood shifts, or forgetfulness to normal aging, when the real driver may be a diet that is steadily degrading the brain's internal stability. Furthermore, additives that seem harmless in isolation, emulsifiers, colorants, artificial sweeteners, preservatives, may cumulatively disrupt blood-brain barrier integrity. When this protective barrier weakens, inflammatory molecules and toxins can enter the brain more easily, damaging neurons and impairing cognition. Over years or decades, this creates a state of heightened vulnerability where even mild metabolic stress can cause cognitive decline to accelerate. The most troubling aspect is how silently these effects accumulate. Unlike cardiovascular symptoms or weight gain, cognitive decline often remains hidden until major impairment has already occurred. A person may believe they are doing fine, while subtle brain changes progress beneath awareness. By the time significant memory issues appear at age 60 or 70, The damage may have begun decades earlier, driven by long-term exposure to ultra-processed diets. The warning, therefore, is severe. Ultra-processed foods do not merely affect body weight, they undermine the structural integrity of the aging brain. Middle-aged adults who rely on these foods for convenience may unknowingly set themselves on a path toward earlier cognitive decline. Older adults who continue consuming them face an even steeper risk of dementia, impaired memory, emotional dysregulation, and accelerated brain aging. The deeper truth is that cognitive health is not only shaped by genetics or unavoidable aging. It is profoundly influenced by daily dietary choices, especially the choice to rely on foods engineered for taste and convenience rather than nourishment. Ultra-processed foods chip away at the brain's vitality one meal at a time, creating a trajectory of decline that feels gradual, but is often preventable. Without recognizing how strongly these foods compromise cognitive resilience, individuals may continue eating in ways that quietly endanger the very organ responsible for identity, memory, independence, and emotional stability.